What is a pawn storm and how does it threaten the chess king? Imagine a wave of pawns rushing forward, pushing past defenses and aiming straight for the enemy king. That's what a pawn storm is in chess. It's a tactic where a player moves several pawns quickly on one side of the board to attack. Usually, these pawns are pushed on the sides, called the queen side or king side, but sometimes they can be pushed in the middle too. The goal is to create chaos and open lines so heavier pieces like rooks and queens can attack the king directly. Pawns are the weakest pieces at first, but when they work together, they become powerful. In a pawn storm, players move adjacent pawns in a coordinated wave. This is different from just pushing one or two pawns. It's about creating a series of advancing pawns that overwhelm the opponent's defenses. Moving pawns in this way can threaten the king because it forces the opponent to react quickly. If the pawns break through, they can open up the king's shelter, making it vulnerable to attack. A pawn storm can be especially dangerous when both players castle on opposite sides of the board. This means each king is tucked away on different sides, so attacking one side with a pawn storm can be a quick way to threaten the king. When the center of the board is locked or crowded with pawns, pushing on the flanks becomes a smart move. It allows the attacking player to mobilize pawns rapidly without interference from central pawns. To defend against a pawn storm, players need to be careful about how they move their pawns and pieces. Moving pawns in front of the king can create weaknesses, so it's best to keep those pawns intact unless necessary. Using pieces to block or exchange the advancing pawns can also slow down the attack. Sometimes, sacrificing a pawn to stop the storm can be a good idea if it prevents a bigger threat. In essence, a pawn storm is a way to push forward with multiple pawns to threaten the king's safety. It's about coordination, timing, and knowing when to push or hold back. When used well, it can break through defenses and put the king in real danger. It's a tactic that requires careful planning but can be very effective in putting pressure on your opponent's most important piece, the king.